Cool. So let's move on to our next keystone feature of enterprise. This is called ContextAware Access. And this is a bit of a obtuse name, but what this actually refers to is having specific rules and specific policies in place for the devices that access company data. Now, this may not be something that you think about from time to time, but I want to illustrate a scary story for you and bring this into your awareness. Imagine you have a staff member and they are on the train or the bus home. They might not be doing much travel right now, but imagine they've gone for a walk in the park. They're walking their dog between meetings as they're working from home. And they've got all their company data sitting on their mobile phone. They've got Google Drive, they've got their Gmail, and they've got access to all the spreadsheets that they have access to. Let's say, for example, it's your finance manager, and all of your financial information is in there, probably personal information in there, tax returns, signatures on documents, all of those kind of things. Basically, if someone got access to that, they could destroy your life and get into your bank accounts and probably steal any money that you've got left after COVID. Now, imagine your finance manager leaves their phone unlocked, sitting on that park bench. But imagine if they don't have a passcode on their phone. Ba-bow. Right now, you have no protection. And you wouldn't even know that you had an issue there if they'd not yet authorized for their phone to be tracked, or they may go a couple of hours before actually realizing that they've lost their phone. Now, not only does someone have their phone, but if you haven't configured something like mobile device management properly, then you can't even remotely wipe it. You're basically left with that company data potentially in the hands of someone else. So how do we deal with that? Context-aware access. What this lets you do is lock down which devices can access your G Suite account. And it's not just about, approving mobile phones as they get switched on. There's an approvals process which you can switch in the admin panel, which means that any new mobile phone, has to be approved by an admin. No. That's basic. The advanced edition of G Suite allows you to set policies for which devices can access what. And a basic policy might be something like, if someone's mobile phone is going to connect to our company data, then we want to make sure that there is a passcode on that phone. We want to make sure that anytime someone's mobile device is accessing G Suite, before they get access to emails, documents, meetings, calendar events, anything like that, before they get access, they have to have a passcode on their phone. You may even say, maybe they have to have their phone encrypted as well. So not only is it locked down with a passcode, but it's actually encrypted. So if someone tries to hack in, there's absolutely no way to get access to that data. You can also do things like lockdown based on IP addresses. You may decide that we don't want anyone to install the Google Drive or the FileStream Sync app to their home computer. We want them to install it on work computers, but we don't want them to install it on home computers. And so you can do things like lockdown via an IP address where someone can access their G Suite account, or where they can do things like download the actual Google tools like Backup and Sync or Google File Stream. Now, you may even say things like, well, we don't want our staff to access company resources when they're visiting a certain country. So you can do things like geofencing and locking down even more. That is context-aware access, and it is super duper powerful. As you grow to a larger organization, data protection becomes much, much more important. And what this allows you to do is actually lock down and ensure that anyone accessing via a mobile phone is actually going to have a secured access point. Super, super, super duper important. What I love about this is, there's always a bit of a fear in the back of the minds of business owners. And that is that, what if one of my employees disappears and wants to steal information on their way out? They could download data from Google Drive, they could synchronize it to a local computer. Again, maybe someone has a computer or a laptop without a passcode on it if they're not using a Chromebook, and they leave it on a train somewhere and someone else gets access to it. There's always that kind of feeling in the back of our mind of what if our data was exposed? What if our customer data was exposed? In some industries, that could mean jail time for you, the business owner, or at a minimum, the collapse of the business if there's a massive financial hit and a PR scandal and all of those kind of things. So each of these tools has been designed for the needs of the enterprise. Previously, how we address these kind of needs is we would have everything in, let's say, like the bank vault strategy. We'd have one server or one piece of infrastructure sitting in an office, and that would really be the walled garden where all of the data was housed. you'd have security keys on the server and you'd have admin passwords and you'd only designate certain access to everyone. But that was basically the safe space for all of the business data. Well, now we're working on the cloud. People are working very differently. They want to be able to grab their iPad and mark up a document. They want to be able to jump on a meeting from their phone or maybe even from the car as they're driving along, as I'm sure we've all done. Now, being able to access these tools from anywhere, from any device, opens up all of these new issues, and that's why all of these security features are super important to ensure that things remain locked down. As I said, it's no longer enough just to enable two-factor authentication. You really need to make sure that you're adding all of these different contextually aware security protocols to actually protect your organization as you grow and as you scale. So let's move on to our next one, which is advanced security controls. And I want to talk a little bit about just the general security of G Suite, because in general, G Suite is an extremely secure platform. You can see here there's actually been 0 reported account hijacks for G Suite accounts that have security keys deployed. And what the security keys are they dedicated hardware keys that your staff have to have literally with them and plugged into their computer before they can access their Google account. Now, in the small business space, if you're like sub 50 employees, it's probably not something that you would bother rolling out. You can actually use instead a mobile phone as your security key or a second factor of authentication. But once you grow into a mid-market or a larger size organization, things like security become more important, particularly if you're in any of the more heavily regulated industries, or if you just want to make sure there is no way that any company data can exist outside the business. Now, it is so easy these days to actually have someone steal a username and a password and then gain access to an account from anywhere in the world. And the moment you enable two-factor authentication, it reduces that by about 95%. The risk is virtually eliminated because you have a second factor of authentication. Now, Google is effectively completely locked down. There's just really no ways of getting access to a Google account once you've got these things in place, and that's why it's our strong recommendation. Now, Google's real magic here is that with their scale, with the amount of businesses that they actually touch and service, it means that they can actually see things like phishing emails, spam emails before most other businesses and before most other organizations see them. Now, we've all received the emails that say things along the lines of, hey, I need you to make this payment to this account. And sometimes they will even look like they come from one of your team members. They're pretty dangerous scams because we have business owners within our network who have unfortunately paid those amounts into foreign bank accounts or into MoneyGram or offshore type money transfer services, and the money has been unable to be recovered. And so phishing emails, email scams become a real problem. And there's some advanced features in the Enterprise Edition which allows you to actually reduce those, but also have reporting on those as well as they're coming through to you. So what about other steps that you can take to actually lock down your account? For most administrators, you'll go into your admin panel and you'll change settings when you have something that you know you need to do. But what about the stuff that you don't know you don't know? Now, Google has something they're calling the Security Center, which actually gives you recommendations on ways that you can improve your security. So this is available in the Enterprise Edition of G Suite. And what this does is it gives you AI and machine learning based recommendations on ways to improve the security of the business. And basically that Security Center is going to let you know, hey, only X number of users have two-factor authentication enabled inside their accounts. Or, hey, did you know there are this many documents that are shared externally inside the company? Did you know that this group of users has permission to access that team drive? And it gives you AI and machine learning driven recommendations to actually improve the security. You can also see here, things like the number of, documents shared, users reporting spam and all those kind of things. And so if your role is more dedicated in managing the security of an organization, these kind of tools will give you an idea of like the heartbeat or the rhythms of the technology in the business. If, for example, you see a massive spike in phishing emails, then you might decide to take action and block a particular sender. Or if, multiple users are reporting issues with accessing files, or if multiple users have too much file access across the organization, that might be a flag for you to review your sharing permissions and your sharing structures. Or it may even be a flag for you to work on some user education. And of course, our team can help with that if you're interested in security practices and making sure that they are sharing things effectively and efficiently inside of G Suite. So we've covered some of the security controls, context-aware access, and advanced security controls inside of G Suite. We're now going to go to one of the last and my favorite features of G Suite Enterprise, which is the advanced level of privacy management and protections.